start the record button. And so I wanted to start off by allowing you to ask some questions. I will go through just a little short presentation about some of the ways to find things. But Jim, since you don't have a lot of time, why don't you go ahead, and if there are any questions that you had, let's take care of those. So
there's no major, I don't have any major questions that I know of.
Okay.
I just had this on my calendar. Just thought I'd pop in and see what was.
Okay, great. All right. Well,
I guess the biggie I have is what timing, and that is the timeline that I'm working with is I'm ahead of some areas, I'm behind in some areas.
Okay.
So, for example, my supervisor's already looked at the first 4 chapters I've submitted, and we're looking pretty good on that. He doesn't
that's great.
He thinks it's not likely it will need to be edited. But the interviews I'm doing, which is the core of my research, are proving to be a little more elusive than I'd hoped.
Yeah, that's a common problem.
And I didn't want to start scheduling until I was ready to start doing them, but what I didn't anticipate was how long it was going to take to get from initial introduction to actually scheduling the interview. So I'm behind on that, which means a December 4th first draft is not going to happen. But I think when I look at the rest of the timeline, I think I can get caught up by the time that some of the real milestones have to happen for the binding and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I just want to check and see if I'm going to get excommunicated or if that's.
Oh, no, don't worry about that. It's if you're moving along with everything and you've just got a couple of hangups, you're usually pretty okay to be able to finish up on time. It's just if you get behind by more than a couple of weeks to a month, then we kind of question whether you're going to make it or not. The times when it becomes really critical, like when I have to order caps and gowns, when I have to put your name in the program, and then all of a sudden, I've already got it printed and your name is in there and you can't make it. That's when it becomes like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known, so.
By the end of December, I'm going to know whether, if for some reason I just can't get people interviewed, then I'm in trouble by the end of December. But I'm pretty sure by the end of December, I'll have a draft done.
Yeah. That's good. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
That's my main question. Just then praying that I can find people who want to talk to me.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. I'm going to share my screen and turn off my video, and going to share this screen. Oops, let me change that. We don't want that on there. And that's it. This screen. Yeah, I think. Let's see. All right. Are you seeing the Baki website?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So a few things to keep in mind. For information about graduation, go to our website where you see students, and then it's student resources. And then if you drag over here and click on graduation information, there's a lot of information about hotels, the schedule for the day, your self-evaluation forms, your PLC evaluation forms are all listed here, your cap and gown order, that should be form, and the agreement for the dissertation or thesis release. So that's just a quick reminder of where to find those documents. And then I wanted to show you in Populi, let me find where I've got, I know I've got her somewhere. Okay, so this is my Sally sample. And so when you log into Populi and you click on your student tab, you'll see over here to the right, all these things are filled out. Well, these are just sample things for Sally sample. So what it's going to show you is, for example, when you were accepted into the school, who your PLCs are with their email addresses if we've got them. And then your dissertation supervisor, the second reader, the BGU rep, the date that your supervisor is paid. So then you can quickly see when your supervisor is paid. You can see when your proposal was approved by the academic cabinet. If you're required to do an IRB, it'll show that, your dissertation title, and then as there are more things that will pop up as you do things. So as you've finished something, then I get it, I mark it in here. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where you can see quickly an update. You know, did you pay my supervisor? You know, you can look and see there where I've submitted the check request. Okay, sometimes people find that helpful. And just to show you, this is my Excel spreadsheet. So this is what I base everything on. This document merges with everything. So as you can see, I just have tons and tons and tons of information in here. And so when I give you those, the document that says, you know, your details sheet, and I ask you to make sure that the document is correct for all, like the spelling. For example, this name is what's going to merge into the diploma. And so you would just want to make sure that that document is correct. So all the spellings and everything. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is this is the program from last year, the graduation program. And I like to show people this because this is a little bit big, so let's move. So if you see the program, it's just, you know, common stuff, but what I wanted to show you is how important your picture is going to be. So your headshot for the program is going to be really important. It's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about when they are sending me photos. And some people don't send me all that great of photos. And so what happens is they don't look all that great in the grid. So just a reminder about that. And then to also, you know, I've asked you what country that you are from, what your nationality is. And that's because we put in here the flags on the stage. So we do put flags on the stage, and your country will be represented. So I like to list those. So that's why it's important for that part. Okay.
Nice.
And let's see, there were several other things that I wanted to tell you. Let me stop my share and go back to video. So in terms of timing, and Jim, you had some good questions. If you get a little bit behind, don't worry about it. We're not like, okay, you missed this one day, and so therefore you have to go to the next year. We're not that strict about it, but as I was saying, I have to order caps and gowns, and I have to put your name in the program. And if it comes to it, and you can't make it, and we've got your name in the program, it's not good. So, oh, I know, I did want to show you something else in Sally Sample. Let me share my screen again. Go back to and show you Sally. There's Sally. So when you're in your program, you can request a transcript through this official transcript request. So if you click on that, you can put in your name or the recipient's name and all of your information in there. So that's just a quick and easy way to get a transcript once you've graduated, or even if you need it now just to show somebody, that's a good way to ask for it. You can also export a transcript, but it's not going to be an official. It'll be unofficial unless I sign it. So, and you can also print an enrollment verification here. A lot of people don't realize that you can do that. So, any other questions that anybody can think of that perhaps this kind of sparked? Oh, welcome, Willie. Good to have you here.
Dr. Melton,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit more about the deadline? Just, you know, it sounds like it's a soft deadline, but where does it get hard?
Well, where it gets hard is right around March.
Oh, okay.
Right around March is where if you don't already have your dissertation written and into the technical reader, you're probably not going to make it.
That's helpful. I'll pretend I didn't hear that now. I'm still in my brain. I'm making December 31st my hard deadline, but that is helpful.
Yeah. We want to do it earlier than that, because what happens is it takes us 4 weeks from the time that you send us your final dissertation. So you've sent out your dissertation to your supervisor. He or she has approved it. You send it to your second reader. He or she has approved it. Then you send it to Bill Payne and I, and Bill Payne will either approve it or disapprove it for it to go to the technical reader. Once it's gone to the technical reader, and she will send back to you changes. And believe me, don't be shocked when you get it, because every single page will have 10 things that you've got to change. I mean, that's just the way that it is. I do editing, and yet mine still had a ton of errors. So don't worry about it. It's just, you're doing it, you're too close. And so she sees a lot of stuff, and so she'll help you. So what happens is, at that point, then Bill Payne looks at it once more right before it goes back to you, and he'll even make some more notations, things that maybe need to be changed. Once you get that, you need to immediately address those needs, make those changes, fix whatever it is that needs to be fixed. It's really a good idea to leave the comments on there, either respond to the comment or say, check it as done, and then send it back to Bill Payne, and he will release you once he's checked it through to have your oral review scheduled. You have from that point, when you send, when that document, and he tells me that, okay, you're okay for an oral review, then I send you what's called an oral review scheduling form. And in that form, you need to fill out, well, I can bring one up, but what you're going to do with the oral review scheduling form is to fill in like your PLC or anything that's missing. Like a lot of times you'll have, you won't have told me who needs to be on your, who's going to be there for your oral review. So let me just make this large, and then let me share my screen for you. Okay, so what you'll get is this. Now it's got the merge stuff in it. So let me just erase those. Oh, it won't let me. Anyway, when you get it, it'll be blank. Say it'll be blank right here, because that's not merging into anything because you haven't given me that information. Then what you need to do is you need to contact every single person on this list with a couple of dates and say what date works good for you, and get a consensus. So what you want is a consensus of every single person who you want to be, and for sure your oral review committee. So it's, your supervisor, second reader, and usually your BGU rep is Bill Payne, unless he's your supervisor, and then it could be Martine or somebody else. But once you have a date, then you send that back to me with the date, and then I send out the oral review evaluation. And that evaluation, and it's usually a week before that you're sending that out, you're going to make sure that everybody, all your PLC, has a copy of your final dissertation that they can look at. And then what you'll do is, when you look at that evaluation, you'll be able to tell the kind of questions they're going to be asking. And so you're going to do like a 15-minute presentation. Usually a PowerPoint is required. So you do a PowerPoint kind of responding to those elements that are required for your pass-fail grade. So we help you all along the way, but the thing is, once you have got your, I'm just encouraging you, once you get that document back from the technical reader, as quickly as you can, get that fixed. And then as quickly as you can, when you get that okay for the oral review scheduling, be sure you get a date within a week or so. And the whole reason I'm telling you this is, then you want to get that final, once you've passed and they've said, they say, you got to change a couple of things on your dissertation. Once you've done that and you send me your dissertation, then what I do is I look through it one more time. I just make sure everything's right. I check for little errors. And so it's, you've already had like 10 people read it. So hopefully by then you won't have too many, but I still find at least 10 to 15 typos every dissertation. So it's just the nature of the beast. So it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But my whole point in telling you this timeline is that then it takes 4 weeks from the time that we send your dissertation to the printer and the bindery to get it back. And so if you want that hard copy, which is really nice to have on graduation day, I would really recommend that you try to meet that deadline of that. I think it's the April 15th deadline, to have it into me for printing and binding. So all that to say, that's when you think about it, and when you're backing up from that April 15th date, that's a good thing to keep in mind. And sometimes we can squeak a few in by the end of April, but not generally. It's not going to make it. We will have for you at graduation, we have we have a medallion that we present to you. And if you want, I think I sent out the link to the video from last year, the graduation. If not, I'll send it out to everybody. It gets a little long with all the walking in and things like that, but you can fast forward through it and at least kind of see what the ceremony is like, and kind of gives you an idea of how special it is. So, and we will be praying for each of you during the ceremony, even if you're there or not. And so I will be asking you probably a couple of months before graduation, I'll be asking for your prayer requests. So it's just like a 1, 2, 3 sentence prayer. So good idea to look at speed through the graduation so you can see how each person goes through the presenting of your medallion and your hood and your diploma, and then the prayer and lighting a candle. And it's a very special time. The other thing is we also have a slideshow. So when you look at that graduation recording, you'll see after everybody's walked in, we have a slide presentation that we do. And so I've asked you for 3 photos. One, the headshot for the program, but we also use that for the slide presentation. Then a picture of your family and a picture of you in some kind of ministry setting or work setting, something like that. And so we do that. It's the first 5 minutes or so of the ceremony. So when you see those pictures, then you'll see how important those are when I'm asking you for them. So anyway, any other questions?
I got a quick question.
Yes, Jim.
Related to the PLC, my PLC has not been the most active. I mean, I send them my stuff, and I'll sometimes get a nice job, or
Yeah.
Are they expected to be? Are they required to be? I mean, I'm certainly going to invite them, but trying to get a date that I can get all 3 of them able to do it could be challenging. I just want to make sure my oral review is going to get derailed if I can't get them all herded. Certainly I want to invite them. Would love them to be there. They're all good friends.
Yeah, I only had one of my PLC on my oral review, and it was just somebody who had kind of walked through the whole thing with me.
They're all familiar with what I'm doing. They just haven't been as active.
And it doesn't even have to be a PLC. You could have your wife be on it, watch, with you. You could have 10 people if you wanted. It's not a big deal.
And I assume that's an online oral review.
It is a Zoom, just like this. And then what Dr. Payne does is he separates out, does 2 groups. So the oral review committee, when they're going to be talking about the grade, then they go into a separate room. So it doesn't matter who's there, basically. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to run now, but I'm glad I got on here. That's extremely helpful.
Great. Well, good having you, Jim.
All right.
Okay.
Good to see what you look like after all these emails.
Yeah.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bless you too.
Dr. Melton, I was wondering if you could explain the process a little bit more about the readers, who reads that and how that happens, if we send it to you and you send it to them, or what that is like. Yeah,
at the stage where you have your supervisor and second reader have approved it and it's ready for Bill Payne, you send it to Bill Payne. He's going to look at it and say, you know what, you still need an editor, or this is ready to go to the technical reader. So an editor is someone that you hire if you're not sure about your grammar and spelling and all that kind of stuff. It's really good to have an editor go through your work. If you're confident, if you've got one of your PLC, for example, reads through it and they're kind of an editor, kind of proofreader kind of person, then probably you won't need it. And Bill will go ahead and send it right on through to the technical reader. The technical reader is hired by BGU, paid through BGU, and it's a charge that is part of your graduation fee. Or you've got a graduation fee of $450 that pays for things like the ceremony and your diploma and the medallion and, you know, all that kind of stuff. The technical reader fee is $300, and that's in addition to that $450. And then the cap and gown is a separate charge also. Generally, it's been $200 for the last couple of years. If someone prefers to purchase their own cap and gown, I forgot to mention this before. Good thing I'm thinking of it now. Some people like a little fancier cap and gown. I know when I graduated, I knew I would be wearing my cap and gown for years to come, and I have for 9 years now. So I bought a real nice one, and it's got like red piping on the chevrons, and it's a nicer material and all that kind of stuff. The one that we buy for you actually it's actually recyclable. It's made out of water bottles. Being very environmentally sound thinking, BGU has purchased these gowns that are actually made from plastic water bottles. They don't look like it. They look like a regular gown, but they are totally recycled. So,
That's really funny.
I know, isn't it? It's just such a kick. But they're cheaper. And so if you plan on wearing your cap and gown into the years to come, especially if you're in education or you're going to be a professor, you know you are, you might as well buy a nice one. I have purchased a couple through Amazon. They've got, if you just Google on Amazon, doctoral cap and gown, you can do it. We will get the hood for you, so it is, because it is special colors for BGU for your degree.
Okay, and thank you for that. And now back, I guess I needed to back further up.
Okay.
The second reader, that is also someone that you arrange, correct?
No,
we
no,
arrange that.
This is someone, so your second reader, you want that person to be an expert in the field that you're writing in. They need to have a doctorate. They need to have a terminal degree, but you want somebody, maybe, if you've got a dissertation supervisor who is a BGU professor, you maybe want somebody from another school who maybe, if you're doing your, just, random, you're doing your dissertation on economics and you have a BGU dissertation supervisor that's on faculty, get an economics professor from some other school who has a doctorate, have them be the second reader. And we don't pay them at this point. I think we are going to start doing that just to give them compensation for reading the dissertation and giving you feedback and then being present for the oral review. But at this time, we don't have that charge in there. So,
okay.
Does that help?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, any other questions?
Hi, Dr. Hudson.
Hi, Dion. Good to see you.
I know I'm in a bit of limbo with regards to the date and if I'm going to necessarily be considered for the coming batch or not. And that's, well, as you already know, I met up with a big, I want to say wall. I think it's because I didn't take the overture course. However, I was able to meet with, after meeting with Dr. Willie Kutioga, I think that, if I have it correctly.
Yes.
Which was recommended by the approval cabinet. He really, really put me on the right track with regards to how the dissertation is looking. Because I think mine was a bit too technical and not as transformative as it should have been. And I have been able to audit in a sense the upcoming equivalent to the transformation, the overture, which would be in January. So I got a better understanding there. So I think my question is then, providing, because I know there would be, there's a possibility still. Worst case scenario, I would have to probably wait until the following year, but still I'm throwing this out there. If I, with the guidance that I've received from both Dr. Bill, Dr. Willie, and my meetings with Dr. Martin, if I reshape that which I have been doing over the last few weeks, and I send that hopefully by next week, as I still need to get that final approval. What if that would still be, if that possibility still exists, well, I mean, on a separate meeting, I can give you the details with respect to what I've done. I've already moved to the implementation stage of the training and so forth. But it's just to reshape the focus. I've advanced, yes, in the other chapters, but I need to reshape the focus of the overall project. So I wanted to know, clearly, how should I go about doing that? And hopefully I'm going to resend that by early next week.
That's a big question, and I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're asking, but just
I know it's been a lot.
But everybody kind of comes to a different place, and they're kind of you got to a stuck place, got a little bit behind, and as I've said to some of the others, you've got some real firm deadlines that you just can't. If you're not making that deadline, there's just no way. Right now, they're still kind of soft deadlines. Like if you finished if you had your whole first draft ready January 15th, you're probably okay. Having to take the transformational leadership class in January and then try to finish, doesn't sound like you'd be able to make that deadline. But you can still work towards it, and then you might have to get pushed to December of 2019. You just wouldn't go through the ceremony in this June. It would be next June.
All right. Well, I'll be working toward that nonetheless.
Okay.
I'm the type of person that doesn't give up, but I do hear you loud and
Good. Yeah.
So,
well, I encourage people to hang in there as long as they can. Because sometimes, I remember when I was writing my dissertation that I would do a chapter in a week, and it would be like, wow, that was great. And then another chapter would take 2 months. It's just not happening. My brain just isn't doing it. So that kind of can happen. Maybe, you can knock out a couple of chapters in a couple of weeks and you're right back on track. So,
All right. Thanks for the feedback.
Okay. All right.
I have a very quick question.
Sure.
I've been doing payments for this program monthly. What's the date when it's expected for everything to be fully paid?
April 15th.
April 15th.
Again, April 15th is a real big day.
Okay.
Payments have to be done. Work has to be done. Everything has to be done. And then, because really that's when we know for sure, okay, that's when I've got to send the draft to the graphic designer for the program. That's when I need to start ordering caps and gowns. And it's like, if you can't pay by then, chances are you're not going to be able to pay. So we kick you over to the next year. And it's just.
Okay. Now for those like us that we're planning to graduate in June, is it possible to have like a communication where it says, okay, you have X amount of dollars pending, you have been making X amount of payments so far. If you want to catch up by April 15, you need to increase your payment by this much or something like that?
Generally, Carolyn Cochran, who does all the financial managing, she'll start checking on the graduates, the potential graduates. We have a list in Populi that sorts it so we know who's graduating. She can glance and see what their balances are. And if their balance is really large and it doesn't look like they're keeping up, she'll contact them and say, if you really still want to graduate in June, this is what you're going to have to pay. So But it's a good idea for all of you to just keep track, keep glancing at your, you've got it right there in Populi. Just go to your financial tab, see what you've got still to go, and keep in mind that you will usually I start adding the graduation fees right around March.
Okay.
So I'll be adding, the $450 graduation fee, the $300 technical reader fee, and the cap and gown if you've responded that you want to or you plan to attend. If a person, though, goes to the technical reader, if their document goes to the technical reader, I add all the fees at that time, just because I've got to pay the technical reader. So I have to charge that in Populi. So that's usually my checklist. Okay, they're going to technical reader, so I'm adding the fees. So,
okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Gustavo, it wouldn't be a bad idea just for you to email, because I see that you're not registered for dissertation part 2. So you may want to, in your projections, you may want to add Kellen just to help you project on just.
And I can add those fees if you're certain that you're going to graduate. We can add those fees now, so you know how much it's going to be. So if a student says, "Please add my fees now," I can do that. And Carolyn will often, especially for FAFSA students, federal aid students, I'll add the fees ahead so that they know exactly what is owing.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm working on chapter 7 right now.
So you're probably going to make it. Yeah, I can add them now. I can add it all up now if you want.
Yeah. You probably need, because even part 2 is not added on his file yet.
Okay. I'll do
So
that.
it's better if I know that I'm gonna have some extra charges, start making payments towards that right now than to get to March and it's a single chunk.
Yeah, it's true. So I'll go ahead and add those so you'll have an idea.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
If you have some extra cash there that you don't need, I'm here.
Some large donation.
Exactly.
Some generous person. Okay. So any other questions?
This was really helpful. Thank you for walking us through this.
Absolutely.
And I know some of us are really relieved to know those deadlines are not as hard as we're headed for, as we've been trying to make them.
Well, Bill Payne wants those deadlines to be firm. He really does, because what happens is, so the technical reader is his wife, Roxy. And so what happens is, we set this deadline in February. We want the oral reviews to be scheduled. And so that means in January, she'll start doing the technical reading. But what happens is it keeps getting pushed and pushed until we're in March, and everybody's turning in their stuff to the technical reader, and she can't keep up. And so what happens is it gets delayed, and they're upset because they can't get their oral review scheduled until after the graduation, so they can't graduate. So that's why he tries to keep those dates as firm as he can. So
we promise not to tell on you.
Don't tell him. Oh. Okay. Anything else to help you with? No? Okay. Well, does somebody want to close us in prayer?
Sure, I don't mind.
Okay.
Dear Lord, we want to thank you for this opportunity that you give us to talk about this big accomplishment in our lives. We want to ask you once again that you use these accomplishments to allow us to serve you better, to allow us to love you more and to serve your people the way you want it to be served. We want to thank you for all of our professors, for Judy, for all the efforts that they put on us, and we want to put them in your hands so you can also do your will in their lives. Once again, Lord, we want to thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and
No, appreciate it. Thank
Great
you. Very
questions.
helpful.
Thank you for all your questions. It'll help others too. So,
Thank you so much.
okay.
Thank you both.
Bless you all. We'll
Okay.
talk again
Bye-bye.
soon. Okay.
Bye.
Did